All right, hello everyone. And today on the Recruiting Hot Seat, we welcome one of the greatest coaches in college tennis history, Coach Manny Diaz. Welcome to the Recruiting Hot Seat, Manny.
Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it.
Over 36 years, you have been the head coach at the University of Georgia. You became the winningest coach at the SEC history with more than 770 victories, 29 conference championship, and 4 NCAA national titles. As a player, you were a 2-time All-American, and you are a mentor to generations of Bulldogs. You have built one of the most respectable programs in the country. You recently retired after nearly 5 decades in Athens. You leave behind a legacy of championship leadership and lifelong impacts. And I want to add something to this introduction. We almost got you a player who would have been a great addition to Georgia in Ignacio Bulce. Look how good he's doing in the Pro Tour.
I know. Hey, Thomas. Well, yes, Ignacio is doing incredible. He's right around now, about to break into the top 100 or very close to it, and just a tremendous family, super family. I really enjoyed recruiting Ignacio and wishing him the best.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Manny. You're really someone that I was looking forward to do this hot seat. A lot of people could learn a lot from you, so I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to give you 20 questions. Quick questions. I want quick answers. Keep it real. Keep it simple. No scripts. No filters. Just your best insights. And remember, Manny, this is the hot seat. So bring the heat and let's have some fun.
Let's go.
Okay. If you were not a tennis coach, you would have been
baseball player.
Of course, from Puerto Rico. What kind of question is that? The best representative of our sport has been
in college tennis or in pro tennis or
tennis. The sport of tennis.
I think there are many role models you could say, but I always admired the smooth Roger Federer, classy, stylish. You could see him elated when he won, but you could also see him cry. I think that just a full range of just being a good human, and I think that he was a great example.
I agree with you on and off the court. The biggest myth about tennis scholarships is
that it's a guarantee for success. It's just a new beginning.
True or false? Talent matters more than character in recruiting.
I'm not going to say talent doesn't matter, but in my book, when I was recruiting, I think it all started with character. Just seeing somebody compete and how they handle adversity. I always had a saying that difficult situations revealed character. And that was something that I looked for. I actually looked for, a recruit, a player that I was recruiting. I was looking to see how he would react in difficult moments, and that revealed his character. And that was number one for me. Not that talent didn't matter, but it had to go hand in hand with character, because that told me that he would fit well into our culture.
Well said. The most common recruiting mistake players make is?
I think waiting too long to get involved in the recruiting process. While coaches cannot speak to you during your freshman and sophomore years, unless the rule has changed lately, it's always a coach cannot respond to you, but just finding a way to demonstrate your interest, sending an email, sending a resume, sending a letter of interest, even if the coach cannot respond to you. I think that you're going to raise your level of exposure just by beginning early and making sure that the coach knows that you have an interest in that institution.
Especially in such a competitive environment today. Parents in the stands are more of a distraction than a motivation?
Agree 100%.
If a recruit's academics are borderline, the one thing that can save them is
extracurricular activities, leadership clubs, other things that any story or any involvement, an anecdote, any situation that you can actually relate to a coach that would supplement your academic credentials is going to be a positive.
I'm a big believer in extracurricular. And as a coach, will you also pay attention at that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And I'll add this. For example, when I was recruiting John Isner, he wasn't number 1 in the nation. He was more like number 10 in the nation. But I was always watching him interact socially during a tournament. And the fact that he was always surrounded by about 10 other kids, and I could see his personality, and I could see how he would become a leader, and everybody gravitated towards him, had a lot to do with how he stood out for me.
Right. NIL and revenue sharing in football will hurt non-revenue sports like tennis.
Unfortunately, yes.
The player who surprised you the most was?
Oh, well, I've had many great surprises. For example, John Roddick came to our program as probably the number 2 U.S. junior. So he had a high level of expectations, but he played number 5 his freshman year for us because we had a very good team. And he was a great number 5. And it was great for him to jump from 5 to 1 the next year. I had several instances, several players do something like that. Brandon Wagner, was our number 6 or 7 guy his freshman year. His sophomore year, he became an incredible, valuable player at number 6. But he worked very, very hard his first year and a half because he came halfway through his freshman year. He came in January. And then his junior year, he made a huge jump and became our number 2 player, and a tremendous player for us. So we've seen a lot of cases where we've had a player start at number 6 and jump to 2, or number 5 and jump to 1. There's a big ceiling that you can conquer if you really pay the price. You're coachable and you work hard.
You are glad you don't have to negotiate NIL deals with agents. Yes or no?
Very, very, very hard. Very glad. NIL started coming on in the last couple of years of my tenure as a head coach here at Georgia. It just became one more incredible side job that we have to have as coaches. And honestly, even last year, I wasn't the head coach. I've just completed my first year in retirement, but my last year, and as well as the next year, the first year for Coach Jamie Hunt here at Georgia, it's just, fundraising for NIL just became a huge part of the job. And it just, it takes away from development. It takes away from the time that you can be putting in the court with kids. And, I regretted that right there. But I think maybe the fact that revenue sharing came along, it has changed our squad limits or our scholarships, let's put it that way. Many years, all of my years, I was dealing with 4.5 scholarships. And all of a sudden now, the one good thing that has come about in the last year is that now, while you have squad limits, you also have 9 full scholarships, or a possible 10. I think SEC has 9, and that makes it a lot easier to recruit.
The championship run that meant the most for you was?
They're all special. Even I've made it to the championship round. Our team got to the finals, I think 11 times. I won 4 NCAAs as a team, so that means I actually lost 7. Well, but every time you go through that event, through that tournament, the run is what makes it special. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you win when you didn't have the best team. Sometimes you lost when you did on paper have the best team. There's a lot of factors that goes into winning a championship. I would say they're all special when you win. But in 1999, my first NCAA championship, that was probably our worst team up to then. I had been already in 5 losing finals. So on the 6th one, I won with probably our least talented team.
Well,
that team,
to you.
Yeah, that team was special.
Credit to you. Well, not so many teams could have made it to that final. So even losing in the final, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
If money did not exist, recruiting will be completely different.
Especially in the last 8 or so years. There's been a lot of, ugly stuff happening in the recruiting, and a lot of bending, and if not breaking rules, and just, I'm not bitter about it. It just, you're very fortunate if you have all of a sudden a donor give your program $11 million to play around. And it's just not, it's not a level playing field. And you always wished it was, but in all reality, things happen. And I'm glad. I think eventually things are going to get, some of this madness is going to kind of settled in, and things will kind of level out. But, a credit to those programs that are able to raise or have, huge impactful donors that allow them to become a program overnight, a significant player overnight, because of the money. I guess, things happen, but I like the good old times when everybody had the same amount of scholarships and money wasn't an issue, in recruiting. Let's put it that way.
The hardest conversation you have ever had with a player was about?
Was about that, that he was no longer going to have to have the privilege of representing our university and our tennis program. Over a long course of my career, I had a few incidents where, you worked with a kid and he didn't understand our non-negotiables and our, standards of excellence, and how he impacted our program was not in a positive way. And I was never one to be too military about these things, but this certainly, I gave players the opportunity to get on the bus or get on board with our standards. And I didn't see it as myself ultimately kicking somebody off the team. I gave them opportunities, but in the end, they chose not to be a part of our program. I always said that being a part of our program is a privilege, and from the head coach down, we had to represent in the right manners, and when that didn't occur, that was the toughest moment. And I've had to do it several times, and 20 years later, the parents of that kid are some of my closest, most appreciative parents that I had. And even in some cases, when I had to dismiss somebody, players are still very, very close and appreciate that I did hold them accountable, and they got their stuff together in their next chapter, and they appreciate that. But those were very tough moments.
Sure, sure. One question parents should ask you that they never do.
Ooh. I don't have something that comes to mind right away, but ultimately, because I had two kids that played for me, played on our team. I guess if I put myself in that position, if I went somewhere else, how are you going to take care of my boy? Mm-hmm. Tennis aside, are you going to be able to lead and be a mentor and be a second father to my 18-year-old or 17 and a half or 19-year-old? I think that made the biggest impact in my life as a student athlete. Coach McGill, became like my second father.
Right.
And he was an example in the same way that my father was. Will you commit to being that guy, that
Right.
person?
Right. Yeah, like I always say, coaches recruit person before players, where players should go to places where the coach is first a person and then he's a coach.
That's correct.
So that's completely in line with what I think. The NCAA recruiting rule you will change tomorrow is?
Oh, I'm going to say this, and I know that I'm going to have some criticisms, but I would say the 20-hour rule. I know that rule was put in place because there were some abuses. Coaches were just overworking and maybe over competing, But I have had more complaints on that 20-hour rule from student athletes more than complaints I saw before that rule was instituted. A lot of times, especially in the non-traditional part of our season in the fall, that 8-hour period where we can just work with the kids 8 hours a week. The kids are begging for more time with coaches. The kids have dreams and aspirations, and they want more time with their mentors, with their coaches, and that rule has done more damage than good. That's what I got to say.
Europe develops better players than the rest of the world because?
First, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is the way they relate to their athletes. The coaches in Europe and even in South America are more unafraid of telling their proteges what is the truth. I think in the U.S., it's more about if I tell them what I really think, I may lose my meal ticket. And I think that in Europe, coaches are more apt, and this is unequivocally true, that they are harder because they are telling the prospect, their proteges, the real truth, what it's going to take. They don't sugarcoat it. They don't have mommy sitting right next to the student athlete or the player during lessons. They are more independent when they get to us because of that. It's the young prospect in Europe and South America is more independent, and it becomes their game, right? Not fulfilling what mom and dad's dreams are about. So I wish we would do a little bit more of that in the U.S.
I should go pro after high school if
you've gotten to the point where you're winning futures or semis of challengers, maybe. Never before.
If you could go back to your first year at Georgia, what would you do differently as a coach?
Know when to pull back, without a doubt. I was so passionate and young, and I had so much energy that there comes a point once you get to the edge of the precipice where you got to jump, and as an athlete, you got to let your kids jump, and you have to have your kids trust that your parachute will open. You have put in the work. You don't have to try. I lost in the finals my first 5 times.
Oh, really?
In the sixth time, I realized that I was trying to get my guys to break down that door. And in my 6th time, I told them, there's a freaking doorknob on that door. All you got to do is turn it.
Interesting.
And go through it.
Yeah.
You have put in the work. Just trust the process. Don't have to do any more. And that was the difference. We won several championships the next couple of years, and went on to win 6 more.
Yeah, you took the pressure off them for sure.
Yeah.
Your immediate biggest red flag in recruiting is?
Tanking, basically. Just if you tank, if you do not try, if you don't handle adversity, if you have if kids are opting out of consolations in an important tournament like Kalamazoo, and that's an immediate red flag. And if I see somebody not try because he's not playing well and he can't handle adversity, and he just got to the point where he was frustration overwhelmed him, and he embarrassed his family, his coaches, and what they invested in him, that was an immediate disqualifier for me.
High school tennis or not?
I don't think that's a disqualifier. Most kids right now don't even go to high school. But if you're in high school, I think it's great that you participate, and even if it's socially a couple times a week, if you can gain a little bit of flexibility with your coach, to be a part of a team, I think is important. It shows that you care about more than yourself. So I think in some instances, if you go to a regular high school and you want to be, you want to help out by winning a state championship or a regional championship, I think that's admirable. Even if it's not the best thing for you, and it's in a limited way, it's just not going to keep you from, playing Easter Bowl or playing, whatever tournaments you've got coming up, and those are your priority. I think it's admirable that you're willing to do that.
Right. Foreigners in college tennis is a positive or a negative for the growth of U.S. tennis?
For the growth of U.S. tennis is the important caveat there. Probably not. I would like to see some type of quotas. I always was for it. We did a study at the ITA and took it to, I think, a former judge that said if you put quotas on international student athletes, that is not going to hold up in court. So there was nothing. We didn't move the dial into that. But I do think that obviously American kids are not getting opportunities because there's only a limited number of spots, a limited number of scholarships in the past. And so the American kids that are not in the top 10 or 20 or 25 in the nation get lost in the shuffle, and they get pushed down to mid majors or junior, not junior college, but Division II or III.
When players look back years from now, you hope they will say, I'm talking about you.
He had an impact in my life, not on only tennis, but in my life, to become a better equipped father, husband, pro tennis player, doctor. I've got them all.
Mm-hmm. I got the last one. The single most important life skill tennis teaches is
grit, toughness, preparation. Tennis is such an incredible sport. It's not just one. All of those things, goal setting, just college tennis. We take an individual sport and we put it in a team concept. So being a good teammate, improving the lives of the person that's across from you on a given day at practice. It's huge. Being a leader on your team, that is as important a component of what college tennis development is all about. So grit, toughness, teamwork, all of those things are important.
I got one more. This is the last one. Can you just give your best piece of advice to all these junior players who are right now maybe a sophomore, junior in high school? As someone who has been in the side of coaching and recruiting, what would be that big advice?
To a prospect?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you have to have the exposure. You have to get in front of a coach. All right. I don't know what your goal is, but if your goal is to play Division I tennis, the goal is then play in the SEC or in the ACC, play for a Division I school. You have to have the exposure. You have to get in front of those college coaches. If you want to play in a mid-major, just pick 3, 4, 5 programs and go to tournaments, communicate with coaches, be in front of those coaches. This is where I'm playing. This is my schedule. You got to get in front of those coaches. They have to see you competing. That's what they want to do, right? They don't necessarily, you can't recruit 9 number 1 players. But as a coach, they're looking for somebody that fits in their framework of what they're trying to create. Their team culture, their team program. I'm looking for as good a number 6 guy. I'm looking for a lockdown number 6 as much as I'm looking for a lockdown number 1.
Right. Hopefully
that good lockdown number 5 or 6 player who's tenacious and competes well and has a positive attitude, that guy can develop into being one of our top 3 players down the road. That's what we all hope and work hard to achieve. But I'm telling you right now, we're looking for I've lost a lot of players that I was recruiting coming in. We had great teams, and a lot of players were scared that they weren't going to play. All right. I lost a lot of good ones that went on to be good number 1 players. But, I'm telling you, in practice, when you're competing, you come in and you compete at the bottom, that's going to make you tough enough to compete at the top. Don't be looking as a prospect to come in and be a top dog right off the bat, because that means you're not going to have a whole lot of competition. You're not going to be measuring yourself, and you're not going to be pushed on a daily basis. Remember that, 2/3 of the days you're going to be competing with who's on your program.
Sure.
And that is so important. And a lot of times, you got to see the value of coming up the ladder. And And that would be my advice. Just get in front of coaches, because, they're not always just looking for a number one player.
Yeah, and that's why we're so high on our college showcase that we do every year in December. We get about 110, 120 college coaches to come. What a great opportunity for players, to just demonstrate their skills beyond UTR, beyond rankings, just show the coaches what they got on court. They play serious matches. So we are 100%. You need to be exposed. Well, I wasn't honest to you. I told you it was going to be 20 questions, but I got too excited, so I start throwing more questions to you. So sorry for that.
That's all good.
But listen,
glad to do it.
Yes, and this is a wrap for today's recruiting hot seat. So big thanks to Coach Diaz for sharing straight talk and powerful insights. If you enjoyed this interview, this video, make sure you like it, share it, and follow it with others. There's going to be more conversations with college coaches and experts. And remember, no fluff, no waste of time. This is the recruiting hot seat. Thank you, Manny, for your time.
Thanks for having me. You're doing an awesome job. Keep it up.
Thank you, Manny. Take care.